Alright, how's everybody doing today? Back again with another video for you guys and gals. And today what I have for everyone is my 2-year follow-up review of the Moto X Pure Edition. 2 years ago today, I posted the full review of the Moto X Pure Edition. So now we're just going to re-review it, and I'm going to talk about a few things with you guys, and we're going to see how it's been holding up to snuff. Can't believe my baby done survived so long, but here it is. The first thing I want to talk about with you guys is the overall build quality and design. Now, from a build quality and design standpoint, I already said it in my full review, the original one. This one has a very functionalist design to it, so it's nothing too flashy. It's not metal and all glass. It's got your grippy back plastic and your metal sides. And pretty much it's functionality. This is what we call the functional device here. And from a build quality and design standpoint, again, I think this is one of Motorola's best designed devices because it has a very nice solid weight in the hand, but also it has a very grippy back to it. So when I'm holding this in my hand, there's no way that it slips out of my hand. Okay? So in terms of the build quality and design, again, I think that this is really, really good. And I really think that it really stood the test of time. For a 2-year-old device, it's done really, really good. Now, y'all can see it's kind of dirty because this device lives its life inside of a case. Because, you know, just got to be safe. Any type of device that you really love and you've invested money in, you always want to be safe and make sure you get a case so it can last as long as the device itself can last. But yeah, in terms of build quality and design, still a really, really good build quality and design, and again, it's really stood the test of time. Up next, let's talk about that display. And again, what we have here is a 5.7-inch Quad HD display. And it's got a resolution of 1440 by 2560. And I believe it has a screen density of 515. And really, this is still a really, really good display. For a 2-year-old display, it's really, really good. And the only reason why I have a black background on it, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it. Yeah, you can see it right there. But if you look, there is a dead pixel in there, or a stuck pixel. There's one right there, and there's one right there. So altogether, I think there's 3 in total, and you can only really tell they're there if I have a black background and I tilt it on the right angle, so you can kind of see it right there. But other than those 3 dead pixels, I really have to say that this display, for a 2-year-old device and a 2-year-old display, it's really stood the test of time. Let me see if I crank the brightness and bring it up to, yeah. Now you can see it right there. Right there, you can see that. I don't know if it's a dead pixel or a stuck pixel, but you can see it right there. But for a 2-year-old device, the fact that I'm not having any major display issues aside from that those stuck or dead pixels, and it's still really standing the test of time, I have to say that again, this is a really, really good display, and Motorola did a good job with this IPS display here. So in terms of display, it's still really good for a 2-year-old device. Now, talking about the hardware and the software, let me reiterate some things. This guy has a Snapdragon 808 6-core processor in it, so hexa-core, 6-core processor, and an Adreno 418 GPU, and it has 3 gigs of RAM and 16 gigs of onboard storage with microSD card expansion of up to 256 gigs, and you can make that microSD card internal storage, so that's a really nice plus. Okay. Other things, this guy has a 3000 milliamp hour battery, and that battery has been getting beat down, but it's still holding up. We're going to talk about that a little bit more a little bit later on. In terms of Other hardware, we have a 5 megapixel camera in the front with LED flash. We got dual front firing speakers, and these are some of the best dual front firing speakers I've ever had. Okay, and I've tested a lot of phones. On the rear, we got a 21 megapixel camera that is capable of shooting 4K, 1080p, and 720p slow motion. And I've recorded a bunch of videos with this camera. 90 to 95% of the videos that y'all see on my channel are recorded with this camera here. This guy has been a really, really good workhorse. Okay? Now, in terms of software, we are running Android 7.0 Nougat, and it's pretty much a stock build of Nougat here, because you guys know Motorola doesn't really throw in too many gimmicky features. They only throw in the features that they think you're going to use. So you can see it's running Android 7.0 Nougat, and you got a stock build of Android here. And I gotta say, for a 2-year-old device, I thought it was going to be stuck on 6.0 pretty much forever. And then I got the 7.0 update, and I'm like, wow, they seriously keeping this up to date. So Motorola's been pretty good with that. Even though now they're owned by Lenovo, it seems like they tend to be pretty good with updates. But in terms of the overall software, again, Motorola didn't add a lot of gimmicky features. They've added what they consider to be useful features. So you got your Motorola voice support, so you could say, okay, Moto X, and it would launch, but I don't think I have it turned on right now. Then you got your double press to launch the camera, okay? But also you still have your twist to launch the camera as well, getting you straight in, and you could twist to go to the front. Really good stuff there. And yeah, pretty much you got your Moto display. So pretty much when your notifications come in, they pop right up and it lights up, and you could just wave your hand over to wake it up. So it's not really motion based. You just wave your hands over the sensor and it goes up, and you wake it up and you do what you need to do. So all in all, I have to say, in terms of software, Motorola has done a good job. In terms of hardware, it's really stood the test of time. Going into the software performance, it's been really, really good. Now, you can tell that it's a 2-year-old device, because although it has its days. So some days it's really, really snappy and fluid, and even with a bunch of apps open, it's still very snappy and fluid. But now when on other days, when I'm going hard and we're pushing it heavy, you really do get a lot of app slowdown, okay? You get a lot of app slowdown with this guy. But, you know, that's to be expected with Android devices. And I have to say, for a 2-year-old device, it's still holding its own really, really well in terms of the software and the overall daily performance. Now, I do have to point out, however, and this is where I'm a little sad, occasionally, and this has happened often, so that's why I say occasionally, well, more than occasionally, depending on what I'm trying to do, this phone will crash and it will freeze up. Like if I'm recording a bunch of videos back to back, it will crash and it will freeze up, and sometimes my video will get corrupted, or that video will get broken into 2 parts. So a lot of the times nowadays, when you see videos getting broken into 2 parts, and you guys know that I'm not testing or reviewing any particular device, that's because that's where this camera, that's where this device is showing its age. Man, I can't talk today. But other than that, you know, if you treat her with a little bit of patience, she'll still function the way that you need her to. So in terms of the hardware and software and overall data performance, although it is showing its age in certain areas like the cameras, it's still able to produce some really good video, and it still performs relatively well for a 2-year-old device. Now, I know I'm saying it a lot, but I just want to put an emphasis on how old this device is relative to its performance. Alright, so up next, let's talk about the Wi-Fi. And you guys know the Wi-Fi in here. This guy has Wi-Fi 802.11, BGN, and AC dual band. And I have to say, the Wi-Fi performance on here is still top notch. It still performs as that very first day when I get it out the box. I have no issues with the Wi-Fi, none whatsoever. And real quickly, just because I want to highlight the display as well, let's jump in. Let's pull up a YouTube video, and we're actually going to do several. One for the display, and then one for the speakers. So this first one is just going to be display focus. So let me turn the volume down here, because we're not really concerned with the volume just yet, because I really want to highlight this. So this is a 4K video, and this is a 4K display. Let me let this commercial play. And just so I can show you, this is really good brightness here. And you can see, still looks incredible. Incredible. And just let me put it on 4K for you guys. Absolutely incredible display. And as I said before, that's really good considering the age of this device. Really good display. Really good crisp 4K video, and it looks immaculate. I don't know how good this camera is going to do it justice, but it looks immaculate. And again, you can see just from that, the overall Wi-Fi performance on here is still very fluid. So now let's go ahead and load up the music here and test out these beautiful speakers. So let me crank this up. Alright, so there you guys go. Real quick Wi-Fi test, real quick display test, real quick speaker test. And I don't know if the mics are going to do it justice, but the speakers on the Moto X Pure Edition are really good. They're very full, and they get very loud, and they have a lot of bass as well. And this is why I say this is one of my favorite phones with front-firing speakers that I've ever had. And, you know, this has pretty much been the standard that I judge all smartphone speakers by. If your speaker doesn't have this bass, it doesn't get this full, it doesn't get this loud, then, you know, it can still be a great speaker. But if it doesn't hold up to this, then I'm going to tell you, it's you know, it's good. It could be great, but it's good. And if it's great, I'm going to tell you it's great. And overall, this is what I want to say. This is why I think that all smartphones should have front-firing speakers. These speakers are very hard to block or muffle, and the audio is coming straight at you the way it should be. So overall, really solid Wi-Fi, really solid speakers. Again, for a 2-year-old device, loving it. Now, let's keep it moving. Okay, now we're going to talk about the bands and overall LTE support. And this is another one. This is another one where I say all devices need to have this loadout. Now, in terms of band support, this device supports all the bands, all GSM, all HSPA+, all CDMA bands for all the carriers in the United States and all GSM carriers abroad. Alright? And you see that? This has all the band coverage. Okay? It's the only band it's missing is bands 40, 42, 43, and 66. But other than that, it has all of the band support. Okay? And really, again, when I'm testing a smartphone, this is the type of band support that I look for. Okay? Now, devices can say their GSM unlocked, and they're unlocked, and they may not have this type of band support, so it's only going to work on maybe 1 or 2 carriers, or you may get 2G, 3G, or HSPA plus. But for a device like this is a globally unlocked device, okay? And this, sorry about that, I didn't turn the other phone's notifications off. This is a globally unlocked device, and I feel like all unlocked devices should have this type of band support, okay? I can literally put in any SIM card from any carrier, and it should pick up automatically and go. Or if it doesn't, drop the APNs in, look up the APNs, put them in, and it's just gonna work, okay? The only other device, there's a few other devices that I could think of that have this same band loadout, a few Chinese ones, mostly in the States here, mostly Motorola devices have this type of layout, like the E4, E4 Plus, G5, G5 Plus, G5S Plus. Another company that has this type of band loadout is the Essential Phone. The Essential Phone is just like this when it comes to LTE bands. It's fully globally unlocked, and where the Essential Phone has the one-up in band support is it features those other 3 bands that this one doesn't have. So band 42, band 43, and band 66, okay? So really, when we talk about band support, when you buy unlocked devices or just devices in general, this is how you know when you're going to get your money's worth, when they have that full LTE band support and you could take it to any carrier and not have any issues. And I have tested this on a bunch of carriers. I've tested it on Verizon, I've tested it on T-Mobile, I've tested it on AT&T. Have I dropped my straight talk SIM in this? I don't know, but I'm going to have to test that one later on because my Stylo 3 is off camera over there on the charger. But realistically, this guy is going to work on every carrier, okay? Every carrier. So really, really solid band support on this guy. Up next, let's talk about the Bluetooth. And I got to tell you guys, if y'all watch some of my older videos, you know that the Bluetooth had its waxing and waning moments, and it had a little Bluetooth glitch in there. And I'm very happy to say with the 7.0 update, I believe that glitch is fixed. So now the Bluetooth on this Moto X Pure Edition is running almost flawlessly, and I've had no issues since I've gotten the Android 7.0 update. Prior to the update, I was having a Bluetooth glitch where it would disconnect and then it wouldn't reconnect, or I had to toggle on and off the Bluetooth, or toggle on and off airplane mode, or restart the device to get that Bluetooth working. Now, after the 7.0 update, I'm not having that issue, and the Bluetooth on this guy has been solid. Very solid. And again, I just want to say, I'm really happy to see that older devices like this are still getting updates, still getting support. Granted, it probably won't get any more support over 7.0, but the fact that it's running 7.0, when you have other devices that came out that are still running like Marshmallow or Lollipop, to see a 2-year-old device like this still running on one of the latest versions of Android. It's not the latest and greatest, but it's pretty close. It's really, really good, and I just want to point that out. I'm sorry, I got a little off track, but I wanted to point that out. Now, moving on to the GPS. Again, really, really solid, and as I always say, I'm very GPS dependent, and I'm very happy to tell you guys that the GPS in here is still performing like a boss. Like a boss. It still locks on very, very quickly, and when I'm doing turn-by-turn navigation or anything that has to do with the GPS, it works no problem. So the GPS in here is really, really good. And this is where I also want to point out, I think Motorola, they sourced some really good internals, and they got some really good parts in here to see that it's really stood the test of time. And I have not been babying this device, not at all. If you see up here, I think I have another scuff because I dropped it when it was in the case again, And then down here, this is from that original drop when it dropped out my pocket. So I have not been babying this device, and I've been pushing it hard. So yeah, it's really good to see that all of these things are still holding up really, really well. Now, sliding on through, again, this is where we would talk about the call quality and speaker call quality. And again, it's performing really good. Now, on both fronts, I just wish that it got a little bit louder, but for what it is, it does really good. Now, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be honest with you guys, when I drop my SIM back in here, I'm usually testing some type of Bluetooth device, whether it be Bluetooth headphones or Bluetooth speakers. So I haven't really taken a call with the internal receiver on this one in months. If I had to quantify it, I'd probably say in about 6 months. But you know, it held up well in the original review, and I don't see any reason why that wouldn't carry over. Okay, so in terms of receiver call quality and speaker call quality, still top notch. Not the best, but good. Now, moving on to those cameras. And by far, guys, this is probably one of my favorite devices for its cameras. Okay, before we jump into the cameras, I just want to go over some core stuff. Again, this has a 21 megapixel rear facing camera, and it does 4K, 1080p, and 720p slow motion. Then it has a 5 megapixel front facing camera with flash, and that does 1080p and 720p slow motion as well. And moving into the camera interface, first of all, let's go with them gestures again. So you got some really nice gestures on this one. You got your twist of the wrist, which takes you in, or you could double tap the power button, also take you in, and then you got your twist of the wrist again to take you to the front or take you back to the rear. Really, really nice gestures on this one. And talking about the camera interface, it's really, really intuitive, and the learning curve on this one is really, really slight, so it's really easy to pick up and use. So you access all your stuff here. So you got your HDR, you got your on, auto, off, you got your flash controls, you got your resolutions, so you can see 1080p, 4K, and 720p slow motion. And you got your pixel resolution, so you can see 21 megapixels, 16 megapixels. 21 megapixels is 4:3 again, 16 is 16:9. And in general, this is where I like to keep it. Sure, I take a megapixel hit, but I like that widescreen format. And as y'all can see, it's, again, this is your timer. And you know, it's just intuitive. It's easy. I can hand this phone to anybody, you know, and they can pick it up and use it, no problems. And again, that from an average user standpoint or a general user standpoint, that's what you want. Sure, you know, as a tech head or a tech enthusiast, I love a bunch of features, and I like cameras with that shoot in multiple resolutions and all that. This does that, but also keeps it very general and easy for your average consumer to use. So I can pretty much hand this phone to anybody on the street, and within at least 1 to 2 minutes, they should be able to pick it up and use it and really enjoy it. And honestly, when we talk about the camera interfaces and the user interfaces, this is the type of intuitiveness that we need to get back to. Sure, we have all of these things now in our camera interfaces. We got our pro modes, we can adjust stuff, all that good stuff is there. But sometimes you just want to be able to tap and shoot, or pull out, pick what you want, and get right into it. And this camera offers that. And it's real easy just to offer a pro mode setting up here. If they wanted to come out with the next one, a true successor to this, because although they did come out with the Moto X, the Moto X4, I feel like in certain areas that's an upgrade to this, but in other areas not so much. So maybe Motorola need to go back to the drawing board on that one and come back with a true successor. Big display, dual front firing speakers, quality cameras, all the good stuff that, you know, made the original Moto X Pure Edition here, or the Moto X line in general, popular. Because that was one of the things that really intrigued me about the Moto X devices. They were really easy to use, very user friendly, and they still packed in a bunch of features. So all in all, I'd have to say, jumping back on task here, because I went off on a little rant, that these cameras and this device in general is still a very, very good device. Very, very good. Okay? And you're still going to be able to get some really nice quality photo and video out of these cameras. And again, that's really, really good for the age of the device. Okay? And talking about games, this guy pretty much held up to every game that I threw at it. Now, as I said before in some of my other videos, I'm a casual gamer. So when I'm not testing a device, these are the games that I play. You know, just some time wasters, you know, hand-eye coordination things. So Fruit Ninja, Subway Surfer. When I'm not testing the device, I don't get any more intensive than that. And really, this guy can still handle your graphically intensive games. Now, you might get some hiccups or some slowdowns, but it's still going to work. You may have to drop down the resolution, but it's going to work. Now, yeah, so in terms of games, it's still going to hold up. And for a 2-year-old device, that's pretty good. Now, I did find that it gets warm after extended gaming sessions of about 30 minutes plus. It does get warm in the back here, and it does get warm over that camera module. Okay, so over time that will happen as the parts and internals begin to wear down. Stuff won't be able to filter out heat as if it was brand new. So over time, when you have an embedded battery device, or you know, just older devices in general, that will happen. So I did want to point that out. Okay, now moving on, let's talk about the benchmarks, because you guys know I do re-benchmark this device often. So I had to do it one more time because I have some comparisons coming up, and I had to do it one more time for this video as well. So when we talk about the benchmarks, I'm very happy to say that the Android 7.0 update has really served this device well. So you can see in 3D Mark, can't talk today, sorry guys, it scored a 20,048. Okay, you can see in the new version of Antutu, it scored an 83,182, which is not good by today's flagship standards, but it's not bad. Pretty much, in my opinion, if you want to be a solid mid-ranger now, this is where you need to be punching, at least on paper. Now, you guys already know what I'm going to say. These benchmarks mean absolutely nothing. What really matters at the end of the day is the right combination of hardware and software, which equals an overall fluid and fast user experience, which I believe this device still delivers. And at its age, that's really, really good. But you can see in Antutu still scores well. And here it is, Geekbench 4. You can see you got a little bit of a bump in certain areas and a little bit of a downgrade in others. So you can see in single core it scored an 1168, and in multi-core it scored a 1976. And you can see it is running Android 7.0 Nougat, and it does have 3 gigs of RAM there, so really, really nice. Moving on, this is the Volemo metal test, and you can see middle of the pack, to be expected with the age of the device. But right here, this was surprising. Third place for a 2-year-old device is pretty good. Now, they don't really use this benchmark anymore, but I like the way that this benchmark tests things, and I like how it just stacks everything up against each other. So maybe people should start using this benchmark again. Now it's not available on the Play Store, but it's really, really easy to find the APK and sideload it. So maybe could bring it back to life. But you can see it scored well in both of these. So 1578 for the metal test, which tests the internals, and a 2112 for the multi-core, which is really, really good. And then this is probably the most surprising part. This is the DiscoMark benchmark, and this is a multitasking benchmark. And again, what I do here is I just load up all of the apps that I use on a daily basis, and I run them through. And with the DiscoMark, it runs them through, and it spits out an average time. So it cycles through all your apps 5 times and spits out an average time. Now, originally, or on prior versions of Android, when I ran this test, the average time wasn't too high. I think the last time I ran this, it got an average time of 35 seconds, a little bit over 35 seconds. But with this most recent run, you can see it scored it got an average time of 14.28 seconds. And that's really, really good, again, when you factor in the age of this device and these internals and the overall package. It's really, really good. Okay? Good stuff there. Now, moving on. So that pretty much covers the benchmarks, and we already talked about the GPS here. So moving on, now let's talk about the battery life and the overall charge times. And again, this is where I say that the battery life on this one still isn't so good. Now, it got a little bit better with the 7.0 update. I managed to get about an hour back. So I was pushing anywhere from about 4 to 5 hours screen on time. But over extended usage, it leveled back out to where it was. So now I'm getting about 2 to 3 hours if I get that, okay? If I get just over 3 hours of screen on time, then I'm happy with it. But keep in mind, I am a heavy user, so you gotta factor that into account. Now, if you're a lighter user and you pick this guy up, you may potentially get better battery life depending on what you do with your devices. But all in all, I'd have to say where the Android update kind of bumped it up for a little bit, but it kind of leveled back out over time. So the battery life on this one overall is not too good. But where it redeems itself is those charge times. So you can see right here, 10% to 85%, about 52 minutes. You can see 8% to 80%, 45 minutes. So you're getting some really, really good charge times here, okay? And let me see if I can get another one in here. So about 23% to 100%, hour and 43 minutes. So you can see it's not as fast as it used to be in certain areas, but it's still pretty quick. And in terms of charging, this is still my standard when it comes to fast charging. And some flagships nowadays still can't charge as fast as the Moto X Pure Edition and its turbocharger. So overall, some really good charge time still. You're looking at about anywhere from about 45 minutes to probably an hour and a half, which is really, really good charge times when you put it into perspective. Keep in mind that number will vary depending on when and where you put this guy on the charger and the charger that you use. But if you're using the standard turbocharger, you're going to get some really good charge times there. So overall battery life is pretty bad, but the overall charge times are pretty good. And again, for the age of the device, good stuff. And I know I'm harping on that a lot, but I really, really want to make sure y'all understand that. So now let's get to the price and my final thoughts. So originally, when I picked this up, when everything was all said and done, after cases, micro SD cards, all that good stuff, I think putting everything into perspective, the original price for this was, it might have been a little bit over $400. I don't remember exactly, but you guys can check out the link to the original review, which will be down below in the video description. But nowadays, you can find this Moto X Pure Edition here on sale at some really good prices. Some really good stuff. And let me just show you real quick. Let's just pull it up. So if I go into my shopping app and I go to Swapper here, and I identify the device there. So you can see on Swapper, you can get this guy for as low as $130. Okay? And if you jump on Amazon, you can get a refurbished light new version of this at the highest tier, which was 64 gigs. You can get that for like a little bit under $350, maybe $400, depending on where you get it from. And on eBay, these go on sale all the time. So if I had to put it into perspective for you guys, you can probably find this Moto X Pure Edition for anywhere from about $260 to about $400. And at that price, for everything that this device offers, I think that I can easily still recommend that you guys pick up this device. Again, if you want a really good display, top-notch display, you want some really good cameras, you want some excellent speakers, okay? You want a nice functional design, but also you want some easy to use features that are very convenient and very user friendly, then I can easily recommend that you guys pick this up at those prices, okay? And again, for a 2-year-old device, really good stuff. So yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up this 2-year review of the Moto X Pure Edition. Now to tell y'all what this device is going to be doing for the foreseeable future. I probably won't be putting my SIM back in this guy. The battery life is it's gotten too bad. Now, if there's an emergency and all my other devices are dead, and this is the only device that I have, then maybe I'll drop my SIM in it and do what I need to do. But for the foreseeable future, this is now turned into a camera-only device. So you guys will probably only be seeing this device if I run a comparison video. Then that's probably the only other time that you're going to see this device on camera. Other than that, this device will strictly now be, from this day forward, a camera-only device. Okay? That being said, I can still easily recommend this device for all of the reasons that I mentioned in this video. And for the age of the device, it's still really good. Okay? So I hope you guys and gals enjoyed this 2-year follow-up review on the Moto X Pure Edition. If you did enjoy this video or you found this information helpful, please help your boy out and give the video a thumbs up. That really does help me out. You don't know how much. If you want to see more raw, uncut content like this, please hit that subscribe button down below, because you never really know what's going to happen when I push record. And make sure you click off that notification bell right next to it so you get notified when I post new videos. As always, all links to where you guys could pick up this device will be down below in the video description, as well as links to the original full review, links to all of the camera samples, and links to all of the photo samples, which are available on Google Plus, will be down below in the video description. So if this video has piqued your interest, please check out the video description. It's going to be like a one-stop shop down there. Also, before I go ahead and close out, I wanted to let you guys know that this whole video has been recorded using the 13 megapixel primary camera on the Essential Phone PH1. And it's been recorded at the maximum resolution. So that's 4K resolution at 30 frames a second. And there is no external mic hooked up. So please let me know how the video looked, and please let me know how the audio sounds down in the comments. Just wanted to throw that out there before I forgot. And as always, guys and gals, if you guys know anyone out there looking for some high quality, affordable devices and products at some really great prices, please share with them my channel, because I'm doing this for everyone, because we all deserve the best. Alright, I hope everyone has a great day, and I will catch you guys and gals in the next video. Peace. Gotta go ahead and close out because we're losing daylight. Peace, everybody. Have a good day.